The first thing I heard after dying was the bus engine coughing like an old man refusing to admit he was sick. The second thing I heard was my homeroom teacher's voice snapping, "Lin Xiao, count the admission tickets again. If one person is missing theirs, you're responsible." My eyes flew open. Not gently. Not like waking from a dream. More like someone had shoved me through a sheet of ice and forced air back into my lungs. I was sitting in seat 17A, left side, middle row, on the blue and white exam bus rented by Jincheng No. 7 High School. Rain traced crooked lines down the window. The smell of damp uniforms, cheap breakfast buns, anxiety sweat, and marker ink slammed into me so hard my fingers went numb. In my lap sat the same clear plastic folder from my previous life, stuffed with class admission slips, route permission forms, backup pens, and the yellow attendance sheet that later became the knife they used to cut open my future. Ahead of me, Su Yanyan sat by the window with her hair curled perfectly under the school's strictest exam day rules, pretending to review vocabulary while the corner of her mouth carried that soft, poisonous smile I had spent years mistaking for kindness. Beside the driver, Teacher Peng adjusted her glasses and looked back at me with annoyance already loaded in her eyes, as if my existence delayed the bus by breathing. Outside, the digital sign at Qingshui Road station blinked. 7:18 a.m. One stop before Central Library. One stop before the turn into the old financial district. One stop before the road that, in my first life, swallowed our bus whole for 3 hours and 36 minutes, while 38 students screamed, cried, vomited from stress, and missed the first paper of the National University entrance exam. In my previous life, I stayed on the bus because I was obedient. That was my crime. I believed rules protected the weak. I believed teachers told the truth. I believed a girl like Su Yanyan, who cried when stray cats were wet and always lent expensive correction tape, could not possibly have planned something so cleanly cruel. The bus had left school at 6:50. Teacher Peng had insisted everyone travel together because discipline reflects school spirit. The normal route should have taken 30 minutes. But when we reached Qingshui Road, the driver suddenly ignored the navigation voice and turned toward Central Avenue, muttering about a temporary shortcut. Su Yanyan asked, sweetly enough for everyone to hear, whether we might be late. Teacher Peng told her not to worry because the school arranged everything. 10 minutes later, the first traffic police barrier appeared. 15 minutes later, we were surrounded by unmoving cars, delivery vans, buses, honking taxis, and a wedding convoy trapped like decorative insects in amber. 30 minutes later, my classmates started asking why I had not checked the route as class monitor. 1 hour later, Teacher Peng told the driver to try reversing, but there was nowhere to reverse. 2 hours later, parents arrived at the exam center gates with umbrellas and pale faces, but we were still inside the gridlock, watching the clock eat our lives. 3 hours later, Su Yanyan quietly slipped out through the rear emergency door, guided by a man in a black raincoat who called her Miss Su, while Teacher Peng blocked the aisle and said no one else was allowed to leave because it was unsafe. She reached the exam center by electric bike with 15 minutes to spare. The rest of us arrived after the gates closed. By evening, the school statement said the delay happened because I, as student monitor, had failed to verify the exam bus route and withheld the class attendance folder during emergency handling. Teacher Peng cried in front of parents. Su Yanyan held her hand. My classmates threw my desk into the corridor. My mother knelt outside the education bureau for 3 days. My father, who had borrowed money for my tutoring, had a stroke after reading the online comments calling me the girl who ruined 37 futures. I retook the exam the next year, but by then my family was broken, my name was rotten, and Su Yanyan was already giving interviews as the miracle top scorer who escaped delay through calm judgment. 5 years later, when I found the old dashcam clip showing the driver receiving cash from Su Yanyan's uncle before departure, I took it to the school. Teacher Peng laughed in my face and said, "Even if it's true, who will believe you now?" That night, while crossing the pedestrian bridge outside Central Library, I saw Su Yanyan's campaign poster glowing above the traffic. Outstanding Youth Representative, Integrity Changes Destiny. I remember stepping back, hearing brakes, seeing white headlights and thinking, not prayerfully, not sadly, but with a cold clarity that burned hotter than fear. If heaven gave me one more morning, I would get off one stop early. Now heaven had done exactly that. The bus lurched forward. My folder slid against my stomach. Teacher Peng clapped her hands twice. Everyone listen. Phones away.
No bathroom requests.
No individual movement. Lin Xiao passed the attendance sheet forward after checking every name. My hand tightened around the folder until the plastic edge bit my skin. I looked down at the sheet. 38 names. 38 futures. 38 witnesses who, in my first life, had watched me drown because it was easier than admitting they had sat still while a golden girl walked out through the emergency door. I did not hate all of them equally. Panic makes people ugly. Fear makes cowards sound righteous. But memory did not soften the fact that when my mother begged them to tell the truth, most lowered their heads, and some repeated the school's lie because Su Yanyan's parents promised recommendation letters. A boy behind me whispered, "Why is Lin Xiao staring like that? Did she forget to sleep?" Another voice laughed. I recognized it as Zhao Ming, who would later post the first viral comment. She always acted responsible. Turns out she killed us. My throat tasted metallic. Su Yanyan turned slightly, her profile delicate under the gray morning light. "Xiao," she said, using the intimate tone that had once made me grateful to be included. "Are you okay? You look scared." Her eyes flicked, not to my face, but to the folder.
There.
That tiny glance. In my first life, I had missed it. Today, it rang like glass cracking. She needed that folder. She needed my fingerprints on the route form. She needed me visible, nervous, responsible. She needed the whole class to remember that before the disaster, I was the one holding the papers.
He smiled here.
It felt strange on my face, like wearing a blade as lipstick. "I'm fine," I said, just thinking about shortcuts.
Her pupils moved.
Barely, but I saw it. Su Yanyan had always been beautiful in a way adults trusted too quickly. Soft cheeks, clean brows, eyes that watered before accusations reached her. She was not first in our grade because she was stupid. She understood timing, weakness, rooms, reputations. Her father owned Jincheng Shunan Transport, the company that had rented our exam bus, through a charity discount. Her uncle managed municipal event permits. Her mother was deputy director of the school's parent committee. In my first life, when she escaped from the Gridlock, everyone called it luck. Only later did I learn that the morning route had been changed to pass through the financial district exactly when 3 roads closed for a corporate marathon, a water pipe repair, and an emergency inspection outside the stock exchange. None of it appeared on the public app until 7:40. But transport insiders knew the night before.
Su Yanyan knew.
Teacher Peng knew enough to keep everyone contained. The driver knew enough to take cash. And I, the obedient class monitor, had known nothing except how to follow instructions until obedience became evidence against me. The bus slowed as we approached Qingshui Road Station. Outside, under the shelter, office workers shook umbrellas, a grandmother lifted a child's backpack, and a street vendor arranged soy milk cups in steaming rows. The station's sign glowed blue. My heart began to pound so loudly, I thought the entire bus would hear it. I stood up before the doors fully opened. The aisle went quiet in pieces, first the people beside me, then the row behind, then the sharp silence of Teacher Peng noticing disobedience. "Lin Xiao," she said, voice low, "sit down." I slung my school bag over one shoulder and held the folder against my chest. "Teacher Peng, I'm getting off here." Someone laughed like I had told a joke badly. Teacher Peng's face stiffened. "What nonsense are you talking about? This is a unified exam bus. No one gets off alone." I lifted my phone and pressed the power button, so the screen lit up. Before boarding, in this life, my phone had been in my pocket exactly where it had been last time. Recording had taken one swipe, one tap, and one silent prayer. The exam regulations say candidates may arrive independently as long as they reach the assigned center before gate closure with valid identification and admission ticket. The school recommendation to ride the bus is not compulsory. Teacher Peng's glasses flashed. "Are you teaching me regulations now?" "No," I said, still smiling. I'm protecting myself from being blamed for route decisions I do not control. That landed. Not loudly. More like a pin dropped into oil. Su Yanyan's fingers paused on her vocabulary book. Zhao Ming muttered. What blame? Is she crazy? Teacher Peng stood, blocking the front aisle with her body. Lin Xiao. The doors are closing. Sit down immediately. The bus driver glanced back, impatient. The doors began to hiss. I moved faster than anyone expected. I stepped around my seatmate, ducked under Teacher Peng's reaching arm, and planted one foot on the wet curb just as the door squeezed the edge of my school bag. For half a second, the bus tried to keep me.
I yanked.
The zipper tore. My spare pencils scattered on the step. Teacher Peng grabbed the folder. In my first life, that might have stopped me. In this one, I had already removed my own admission ticket, ID card, exam center map, and one stamped copy of the route form while everyone was pretending to review notes. The folder Teacher Peng snatched was no longer my chain. It was bait. She pulled it back with triumph hidden under fury. Lin Xiao, you are abandoning your responsibility as monitor. I bent, picked up 2 pencils from the step, and looked straight past her at my classmates. Anyone who wants to be safe should get off now and take Metro Line 2, from Qingshui Road to East Gate, transfer to Line 6, exit at Wudong Academy. It takes 26 minutes. Central Avenue is closing. The bus inhaled. Some students looked at their phones. The signal lagged. No closure notice yet. Su Yanyan stood so quickly her book fell. Xiao, don't scare everyone before the exam. Teacher Peng arranged this route. How could you know better than the school? Her voice trembled, perfect as rain on a window. I wanted to applaud. Instead, I raised my phone slightly. Because I checked. Because I don't trust shortcuts. Because if you stay on this bus and it turns right after Central Library, you will not reach the exam center before gates close. Teacher Peng's face changed for one naked second. It was not anger. It was alarm. Then she covered it. Driver, close the door. The driver pressed the control. The door slammed. Through the glass, Su Yanyan watched me with the expression of someone seeing a chess piece move backward. The bus pulled away from the curb, carrying my teacher, my rival, my classmates, and the fake folder of responsibility toward the bend in the road where my old life had begun to rot. I did not run after them. That was the first victory. My body understood that I no longer owed panic to people who mistook my fear for guilt. I stood under the station shelter, rain needling my face, and counted. 1, 2, 3. At 5, a hand slapped the window from inside the bus. At 7, I saw Chenrue, the quiet girl from the back row who had asthma and always smelled faintly of mint, twist around to look at me. At 10, the bus turned the corner towards Central Library.
Gone.
The street seemed too large without it. For one heartbeat, loneliness opened under my feet. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times after death, but imagination had never included the sound of my torn zipper clicking in the wind, or the sudden doubt that maybe rebirth was a cruel hallucination and I had just thrown myself into another failure. Then my phone buzzed. Class group 3A exploded. Zhao Ming. Monitor went insane. Lu Han. She said Central Avenue closing? Su Yanyan. Everyone calm down. Trust Teacher Peng. Don't let one person affect your exam mindset. Teacher Peng. Lin Xiao returned to school immediately after the exam. Serious disciplinary issue. I typed one message with wet fingers. For record, I advised alternate route at 7:19 a.m. at Qingshui Road Station. I am proceeding independently to Wudong Academy Exam Center. Then I sent a second message, shorter. Screenshot this. I knew they would. Mockery loves evidence before it realizes evidence has teeth. The metro entrance was across the road. In my first life, I had stared at that entrance from the bus window while we were still moving, thinking if the bus stopped, we could all get there by train. But by the time the traffic froze, the entrance was 6 blocks behind us, and Teacher Peng would not let anyone leave. Now I descended the steps 2 at a time, my shoes slipping on the wet tile. The air underground was hot, metallic, alive with morning commuters. I reached the ticket gate and stopped. Not because I lacked money. Because memory struck again. In my first life, one of the reasons students stayed trapped was that many had left their wallets in school lockers under Teacher Peng's instruction to avoid losing valuables. I had my transport card because my mother made me keep emergency money hidden behind my phone case. Others did not. I looked back up the stairs. Two figures burst into view, soaked and panting. Chun Rui clutched her admission ticket in a trembling hand. Behind her came Tang Wei, the tallest boy in our class, usually too lazy to care about anything except basketball. Lin Xiao.
Sheng Hui Wei is it?
Wait. My breath caught. You got off. Tang Wei bent over, hands on knees. Emergency door. Teacher Peng was yelling at Chen Rui because she asked to leave after your message. I opened it. 3 more wanted to come, but Su Yanyan started crying and said leaving would disqualify us. He looked up, eyes sharp in a way I had never noticed before. Will it? No, I said. Not if we arrive on time with documents.
Sheng Hui's Valovid.
I don't have a Metro card. I took out the emergency cash folded behind my phone case. Now you do. We passed through the gates together. That was the second pattern break of the morning. In every revenge fantasy I had fed myself during sleepless nights, I walked away alone, cold and untouchable, letting everyone who mocked me pay. But reality threw Chun Rui's pale face at me and Tang Wei's shaking hands, and I remembered that not every passenger on that bus had been an executioner. Some had simply been children taught to obey adults with confident voices. We boarded line 2 as the doors chimed. The train launched forward. My reflection in the dark window looked older than 17. Chen Rui sat, inhaler ready, whispering formulas under her breath like prayers. Tang Wei stood by the pole, phone raised, recording the class group chat. They're saying we'll be marked absent for leaving the bus, he said. Teacher Peng says she'll report us. Let her, I replied. She'll need to explain why a teacher threatened candidates for using legal transport. Chen Rui looked at me carefully. You knew this would happen. I watched tunnel lights flicker across my face. I could have said no. I could have said I guessed. But Rebirth had burned the taste for unnecessary lies out of me. I knew the bus route was wrong.
How?
Tang Wei asked. The train roared into a curve. I gripped the pole. Because some people need us late. Neither of them spoke for 3 stations. Then Chen Rui said, so softly I almost missed it. Su Yanyan's father's company rented the bus. Tang Wei stared at her. You knew. My dad drives for another transport company. He said Shunan shouldn't have gotten the school contract. They failed safety review last year. She pressed her lips together. I didn't say anything because everyone likes her. A bitter laugh rose in my throat and died there. Everyone likes her. In my first life, that sentence had been a locked door. In this life, it became a key. At 7:34, while we transferred to Line 6, the first official traffic alert appeared on the city app. Central Avenue Financial District temporary gridlock due to overlapping road controls. Avoid eastbound routes. At 7:36, the class group chat stopped laughing. At 7:38, Luhan sent a shaky photo through the bus window. Red brake lights stretching into fog, a police barrier ahead, and the corner of the Central Securities building visible like a gray tombstone. Someone typed, "We're not moving." Someone else typed, "Teacher Peng?" Then Teacher Peng disabled group messages. She had done that in my first life too, but only after parents started calling. Tang Wei looked at the screen and cursed. Chen Rui covered her mouth. I felt no joy. That surprised me. I had imagined satisfaction as sweet, but what filled me was colder and heavier. The bus had entered the trap. My warning had been real. Some had ignored it because they disliked me. Some because Su Yanyan cried. Some because Teacher Peng used authority like a locked gate. But whichever reason they chose, the result was the same. The blue and white exam bus was now inside the first ring of gridlock, and I was underneath the city, moving faster than revenge ever had. The next twist came at Wudong Academy Station. We exited with 29 minutes until gate closure, enough time if we walked fast. The rain had softened to mist, and students from other schools streamed toward the exam center holding transparent folders over their heads. I checked my documents. ID, admission ticket, black pens, 2 B pencils, eraser, backup copy of route form, phones sealed later at entrance. Everything was there. Then a man stepped from under a plane tree and called my name, Lin Xiao. I stopped. He wore a navy raincoat, black cap, and the laminated badge of Shunin Transport. My pulse slowed, so sharply the world seemed to narrow around his face. I knew him. In my first life, he was the man who opened the rear emergency door for Su Yanyan in the Gridlock, the one who called her Miss Su, and rode off with her through the alley while we shouted after them. Here he was not in the Gridlock, but outside the exam center, waiting. Tang Wei moved half a step in front of us. Who are you? The man smiled without warmth. School logistics. Teacher Peng asked me to collect Lin Xiao's route folder. She left with important documents.
No, she didn't, I said.
The teacher has the class folder.
His eyes flicked toward my bag.
There may be duplicate papers. Hand them over. This is exam security. Chen Rui whispered. Don't. The man's smile thinned. Student, interfering with exam materials is serious. I took out my phone. It was still recording. Please state your full name, employer, and the legal basis for taking a candidate's personal documents 20 minutes before the national exam.
His face changed.
People nearby looked over. The power of a public place is that predators hate witnesses more than they hate resistance. Forget it, he muttered, stepping back.
But I followed one step. No.
You called my name. Who told you I would arrive here independently? He turned and walked away fast. Tang Wei stared after him. That was not normal. No, I said. My fingers were cold around the phone. That was their backup plan. In my first life, Su Yanyan escaped from the bus and reached the exam center with documents intact because someone had prepared a way out for her. But if I got off early, if I carried proof, if I arrived before her, then they needed another move. Take my duplicate papers, confuse my admission, maybe claim I stole class materials, maybe delay me at the gate. I had thought getting off early changed the board. It had, but the people who set traps for children on exam day did not rely on one rope. They had nets. We hurried toward the gate. At the document check line, Chen Rui's hand shook so badly, I held her folder steady. Tang Wei kept glancing behind us. When my turn came, the invigilator scanned my ID and admission ticket. The machine beeped green. The sound entered my chest like sunlight. Candidate Lin Xiao, room 304, the invigilator said. Phones powered off and sealed. I gave him my phone, watched it drop into the numbered pouch, and felt the last outside noise fade. Inside the exam center, the corridors smelled of chalk, disinfectant, and wet umbrellas. Students moved quietly, faces pale with terror and hope. I had dreamed of this hallway for years as a place I never reached. Now my shoes squeaked across it. Room 304 was on the 3rd floor facing the ginkgo courtyard. My seat was near the window. In my previous life, while the first paper began, I had been trapped on Central Avenue staring at a billboard for a tutoring company that said, "One exam can change your life." On this morning, at 8:16, I sat at desk 12, wrote my name carefully, and placed my admission ticket at the top right corner as instructed. The invigilator walked rows with a metal detector. Rain ticked lightly against the glass. My heartbeat found a rhythm. Then the classroom door opened.
Su Yanyan entered.
For 1 second, time folded. She was not supposed to be here yet. Her hair was damp, her face pale, her eyes shining with manufactured tears. Behind her, the vice examiner spoke to the invigilator. Candidate transferred from delayed school bus. Arrived with special escort. Let her take her seat. Special escort. The phrase slid through the room like an insect. Su Yanyan looked around and saw me. Her expression did not break. That was her gift. Only one eyelash trembled. She walked to desk 18, 6 seats ahead, and sat down with the tragic dignity of a heroine overcoming hardship. Other candidates glanced at her sympathetically. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue. I looked at the clock. 8:22. Gates closed at 8:20, but exceptions existed for documented citywide traffic disruptions if exam officials approved. Of course, in my first life, she arrived before closure because everything went smoothly. This life, delayed by my unexpected move, she had still been escorted in through a side channel. They had power I could not outrun with one metro card. For 3 breaths, anger tried to ruin me. It whispered that fairness was a joke, that evidence meant nothing, that Su Yanyan would always find a door while others broke their hands on walls. Then the sealed exam paper landed on my desk. The invigilator's voice rang out. "Do not open until instructed." I looked down at the packet. My own handwriting on the answer sheet would matter more than her entrance. The first revenge was not exposure. It was refusing to let their dirt touch my score. At 8:30, the bell sounded. Paper opened. The first reading passage was about migratory birds navigating storms. I nearly laughed. In my first life, I had spent the first paper crying so hard on the bus my vision blurred. In this life, I read each line cleanly. I answered the vocabulary section, skipped the trap question, circled back, wrote the essay outline in 7 minutes, and felt my mind sharpen as if years of grief had been ground into a blade. Halfway through, Su Yanyan coughed twice. In our class, that cough meant she was stuck. Before Rebirth, I had once helped her prepare coded cough signals for a silly classroom quiz, thinking it harmless. 1 cough. Option A uncertain. 2 coughs. Need essay example. 3 coughs. Distract teacher. My pen stopped. She coughed again. 3 times. The invigilator looked up. Su Yanyan pressed a hand to her chest, eyes wet. "Sorry, teacher, I'm nervous." Her sleeve shifted. For an instant, I saw writing on the inside of her wrist. My first instinct was to raise my hand. My second was wiser. In an exam room, accusation without proof can explode backward. Su Yanyan knew how to weaponize tears. If I accused her now and they found nothing, she would become the fragile girl bullied during the national exam. So I kept writing. But I changed one thing. Whenever she coughed, I paused with my pen hovering above a wrong option, waited 2 seconds, then deliberately filled the correct one. Candidates cheat by reading patterns, speed, confidence, hesitation. Let her watch me hesitate over bait. Let her guess my wrongness. For the essay, the topic asked whether arriving early mattered more than choosing the correct path. I wrote about a bridge washed out by rain and a girl who warned travelers before crossing. I did not mention buses. I did not mention betrayal. I wrote with such calm that when the bell rang, my wrist ached and my answer sheet looked like a field planted in straight rows. As papers were collected, Su Yanyan turned slightly. "Xiao," she whispered, so softly only I could hear. "You were lucky today." I capped my pen. "No," I whispered back. "I was early." Her eyes darkened. "Careful. Getting to the room is not the same as winning." The invigilator passed between us before I could answer.
Good.
Some lines deserved silence until the stage was larger. When we exited after the first paper, the courtyard had become a holding area of rumors. Students from our school who had reached independently gathered in small clusters. Chenrue found me near the drinking fountain, face flushed with relief. "I finished," she said, then burst into tears so suddenly Tang Wei panicked and offered her 3 tissues, a chocolate bar, and his entire pencil case. "I finished too," he said, pretending not to care. "Barely. The classical reading nearly killed me." I smiled despite myself. Then the smile faded as the main gate erupted. Parents were shouting. Security guards blocked entry. Outside, through the bars, I saw the exam bus. It had finally arrived, wet and stained, crawling to the curb like a guilty animal. Students pressed against the windows, faces gray. The time was 10:44. The first paper had ended 4 minutes earlier. My classmates poured out in chaos. Some were crying openly. Xiaoming stumbled down the steps and vomited into a bush. Lu Han screamed at Teacher Peng. "You said it was fine. You said Lin Xiao was scaring us." Teacher Peng looked destroyed, but not with guilt, with calculation under pressure. She gripped the fake folder in one hand and kept repeating, "This was an unforeseen municipal emergency. The school will apply for special handling." Su Yanyan's mother stood near the gate under a black umbrella, speaking to an exam official. Su Yanyan, who had taken the paper, now stood beside her with red eyes and a trembling mouth, already arranging herself into the survivor of the same disaster she had escaped. Then Teacher Peng saw me inside the courtyard. Her expression sharpened. She pointed through the gate. "Lin Xiao,
You.
come here." Every head turned. There it was, the old script reaching for me. In my first life, when the bus finally arrived late, Teacher Peng had dragged me forward and shouted. The route confirmation was assigned to her. Parents needed a face. Students needed a target. The school needed a small person to bury under a large mistake. Today, she still tried. "You took documents off the bus and caused confusion," she cried. "You incited students to leave without authorization. Because of you, we lost time at Qingshui Road." The lie was not even elegant, but panic makes people accept ugly bridges if they lead away from blame. A few classmates turned toward me with raw anger, searching for somewhere to put the pain of missing the paper. Zhao Ming wiped his mouth and shouted, "You knew. If you knew, why didn't you stop the bus?" Tang Wei exploded first. "She told everyone to get off. You called her crazy." Chen Rui stepped beside me, still pale but upright. She posted the alternate route in the group. Teacher Peng disabled messages after the traffic alert. Teacher Peng's voice rose. "You three violated discipline and are now trying to shift responsibility." Su Yanyan moved forward, tears shining. "Teacher Peng, don't be too harsh." Xiao was probably scared. Maybe she didn't mean to abandon us. Beautiful. Even in disaster, she offered mercy shaped like a noose. I looked at Su Yanyan, then at the parents, then at the exam officials, and made my voice carry without shouting. At 7:19 a.m., at Qingshui Road Station, I informed Teacher Peng, the driver, and the class that Central Avenue was unsafe and advised Metro Line 2 to Line 6. I sent the same message in the class group at 7:22. The school bus then continued towards Central Avenue. Teacher Peng kept the class folder. I did not control the driver, the route, or the doors. Teacher Peng shook the folder. "You removed papers. Only my own admission ticket and ID. You were responsible for the route form. Then please show everyone the route form I supposedly changed." She froze. In the fake folder was a route form, yes, but not the original. Before getting off, I had slipped in the printed route Teacher Peng gave me yesterday, the one showing the normal road past Lianhua Bridge, and removed the suspicious handwritten, temporary shortcut note that had been clipped over it after boarding. I still had the note folded inside my sock, because some evidence deserved to stay dry. Teacher Peng opened the folder with too much force. Papers spilled. An exam official picked up the route form and frowned. "This approved route does not use Central Avenue." The parents surged. "Then why did the bus go there?" someone shouted. "Who told the driver?" Teacher Peng's face went white. The driver tried to step backward. Tang Wei lifted his phone. I recorded him saying Teacher Peng told him to follow the shortcut. The driver snapped. "She did. She told me before we left." Teacher Peng spun on him. "You liar." And just like that, the noose they had woven for me tightened around the wrong throats. But Su Yanyan was not finished. She never depended on one lie when three could fit in the same mouth. She began crying harder, shoulders shaking. "Please don't fight. The important thing is my classmates lost their exam. My mother said there may be a makeup policy for extreme traffic accidents. We should focus on helping them, not blaming each other." Her mother nodded gravely, already stepping into leadership.
Yes.
"Our family will coordinate legal support for affected students. We also asked the school to investigate why a student spread panic and caused several candidates to leave supervision." There it was again, softened, polished, redirected. Blame Lin Xiao later. Comfort everyone now. Control the record before facts cooled. Parents desperate for hope looked at Sue's mother because she sounded official. Teacher Peng clung to the chance. Exactly. Lin Xiao's unauthorized departure disrupted order. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. If you want investigation, include why candidate Su Yanyan arrived through special escort after the bus was delayed. Silence hit so hard even the rain seemed to stop. Su Yanyan's tears paused mid-fall. Her mother's umbrella lowered a fraction. I continued. She was on the bus when I got off. She entered room 304 at 8:22 with a vice examiner after gate closure, while the rest of the class remained trapped. Who escorted her? How did they know where to pick her up? Why was only she transferred? A parent screamed. What? Xiaoming stared at Su Yanyan as if seeing her skin peel away. Teacher Peng whispered. Yanyan? Su Yanyan recovered with terrifying speed. I had an asthma attack. A logistics staff member helped me reach the center for medical reasons. Chen Rui, who actually had asthma, looked at her with such disgust, I almost flinched. You don't have asthma, she said. You told me last month people who carry inhalers look dramatic. Su Yanyan's mother stepped forward. This is slander during a high-stakes emergency. I almost laughed. In my first life, that word, slander, had silenced me for years. Now it sounded like a cracked bell. Then let's ask the exam center to preserve hallway footage, gate logs, and the phone registration of the logistics staff member who approached me outside the gate before the exam. The vice examiner who had escorted Su Yanyan stiffened. I turned to him. A man from Shunan Transport called my name and tried to collect my documents at 8:07. I recorded him until phones were sealed. He left when I asked his legal basis. If this is normal school logistics, there should be a record. The official at the gate looked increasingly grim. All involved parties, stop discussing publicly. We will report this to the district exam committee. Su Yanyan's mother's expression turned from polished concern to something flat and dangerous. She moved close enough that only I could hear. Little girl, exams decide futures. Accusations destroy them. Think before you speak. I met her eyes. I thought for 5 years. She blinked. For one foolish second, I had said too much. But she interpreted it as teenage drama, not reincarnation. Adults like her never believed children could carry old ghosts. The second paper began after lunch, and the school tried to separate us. A staff member told me to wait in an empty classroom for emotional stability. I refused unless all independently arrived students were required to do the same. Tang Wei said loudly, I'm emotionally unstable too. Very unstable. I need to take the math exam near Lin Xiao, or I'll become more unstable. Chen Rui coughed into her hand to hide a laugh. The staff member gave up. During the break, parents pressed against the gates demanding answers. The bus students were placed in a supervised room while officials discussed whether they qualified for any remedy. They did not for the first paper, not under standard rules, not unless deliberate obstruction could be proven. That was the cruelty. If the delay was traffic, they were unlucky. If it was negligence, the school might compensate. If it was intentional sabotage, then criminal investigation could trigger exceptional review. Su Yanyan's mother wanted the first version. Teacher Peng wanted the second if she could blame the driver. I needed the third, not for revenge alone, but because 34 students had missed a life-changing exam, and the people responsible were already building escape tunnels. As I ate the rice ball my mother had packed, my phone remained sealed, but Tang Wei's spare watch showed 12:14. At 12:17, a volunteer teacher brought water. At 12:19, Su Yanyan walked past our bench and dropped a folded tissue into my lap. I did not open it immediately. I waited until she had turned the corner, then unfolded it under the table. Inside, written in blue gel pen, were 8 words, "You cannot prove what everyone chose to ignore." My mouth went dry, not from fear, but recognition. That was Su Yanyan's true voice. Not the trembling sweetness. Not the charity star smile. This. A sentence shaped like a locked room. In my first life, she had visited my father's hospital room after his stroke, wearing a white dress and carrying fruit. She held my hand in the corridor and whispered, "Ciao, stop appealing. Even if you prove something, people already chose what to believe." Then she cried in front of my mother and said she wished she could help. I kept the tissue. Evidence did not need to be dramatic. Sometimes it was a thread, and threads tied knots. The math exam came like a storm front. If language had tested composure, math tested violence. The first page was easy enough to invite overconfidence. The second hid traps in inequalities. The final proof question looked innocent until line 3 opened a pit. I felt Su Yanyan's gaze on my back again and ignored it. Numbers do not care who cries prettiest. I solved, crossed out, rebuilt, caught a sign error, and finished with 6 minutes left. When the bell rang, Tang Wei emerged looking personally betrayed by geometry. Chen Rui whispered, "I think I survived." Su Yanyan walked out expressionless.
Her tears had dried.
That frightened me more than crying. By late afternoon, the story had escaped the gates. Parents posted photos of the gridlocked bus. Someone uploaded Tang Wei's clip of me warning the class at Qingshui Road. Another parent posted the approved route form, not using Central Avenue. The local education forum caught fire. Within 2 hours, the school released a statement saying, "A sudden city traffic event affected one exam support vehicle and an individual student's unauthorized departure complicated attendance verification." My name was not written, but everyone knew. Old script, new ink. My mother called as soon as phones were returned. The moment I heard her voice, my spine nearly dissolved. In the first life, this call had been a scream through sobs. "Xiao, tell me you made it. Please tell me." Today, she asked, "Are you safe? Did you finish the exams? Your teacher called and said you caused trouble." There was fear under her calm. My mother had always tried to sound gentle when the world sharpened. I swallowed hard. "I'm safe. I finished both papers. I got off the bus early because the route was wrong. Don't believe the school." Silence. Then her voice changed. "Where are you?" "Exam center gate. Stay where there are cameras. Do not go anywhere alone. Your father and I are coming." I closed my eyes. In my first life, my father had arrived too late, face gray, holding my mother up while parents cursed me. Today, he was still healthy, still whole, still on his way. Teacher Peng tried to intercept me before my parents arrived. She came with the grade director, Director Huang, a man whose smile always looked stapled on. "Lin Xiao," he said, "you performed well by reaching the exam, but your public remarks have intensified conflict. The school needs you to cooperate with a clarifying statement." "What statement?" I asked. Teacher Peng's eyes were swollen, but anger kept them bright. Director Huang opened a document on his tablet. "Something simple. You acknowledge you became anxious after seeing online traffic rumors, chose to leave without teacher approval, and did not intend to mislead classmates. The school acknowledges communication was imperfect. This helps everyone apply for special consideration." There it was. Not an apology, a burial permit. If I signed, the story became mutual confusion. The driver became unfortunate. Teacher Peng became imperfect. Su Yanyan became lucky. I became anxious. "No," I said. Director Huang's smile tightened. "You are young. You do not understand institutional procedure." I looked at Teacher Peng. "I understand you had the approved route form and still let the bus turn onto Central Avenue." She flinched. "I did not. I understand a Shunin staff member knew my name and tried to take my documents outside the exam center. I understand Su Yanyan arrived separately, while the class remained trapped. I understand you disabled the group chat after my route warning became verifiable." Director Huang lowered his voice. "Be careful. Defaming classmates and teachers can affect your graduation file. In my first life, that threat would have crushed me. Graduation file. Conduct record. Recommendation. Words adults use like invisible cages. This time I said, 'Then please put your threat in writing.'" He stared at me. Teacher Peng snapped, "Lin Xiao, why are you doing this? Do you want to ruin the school's reputation?" Something in me, old and exhausted, finally stepped forward.
"No."
"I wanted to take an exam. You turned that into a reputation problem." Director Huang's face darkened. Then my father's voice cut through the rain. "Step away from my daughter." I turned so fast my neck hurt. He was running toward us with an umbrella in one hand and my mother behind him, her hair pinned badly from rushing. My father was not a dramatic man. He sold hardware supplies, remembered every neighbor's pipe size, and cried only when our old dog died. But in that moment, his face carried the kind of fury that makes polite people remember they have bones. He placed himself beside me. "Are you school staff?" Director Huang adjusted immediately, smile returning for parents. "Mr. Lin, we are simply guiding. My daughter said you asked her to sign something." "Show me." Director Huang hesitated. My mother took my wet hand and squeezed. She knew. Without details, without proof, without seeing the past life where she had knelt on concrete until her knees bled, she knew the school was trying to feed me into machinery. "We will not sign anything today," she said. "All communication goes through written channels." Teacher Peng looked at my mother with contempt she barely hid. Parents should also educate children not to act selfishly during collective arrangements. My mother's hand tightened around mine. Collective arrangements did not deliver the collective to the exam. I almost cried then. Not when I escaped the bus. Not when Su Yanyan entered the room.
Then.
That evening, while other students reviewed for the next day's science comprehensive paper, our class became a battlefield. Screenshots spread faster than school notices. 3 versions of the story fought online. Version 1. Heroic Su Yanyan reached the exam after traffic disaster, while selfish monitor abandoned classmates. Version 2. Brave Lin Xiao warned everyone, teacher ignored her. Bus missed exam. Version 3. Whispered but growing teeth. Su Family Transport Company deliberately routed the bus into Gridlock so Su Yanyan could escape and gain advantage. The third sounded insane. That made it dangerous. People dismiss simple corruption if it is boring, but elaborate corruption fascinates them long enough to inspect. By 9 p.m., someone found Shunan Transport's safety violation record from last year. By 9:40, Chen Rui's father posted anonymously that Shunan had been removed from another school contract for route irregularities. By 10:15, a traffic blogger overlaid the approved route with the actual GPS path from a parent tracking app and circled the impossible turn. At 11:03, the school deleted its first statement. At 11:17, Su Yanyan posted on her social account, "I hope everyone can focus on tomorrow's exam. Please stop spreading rumors. I only wanted all of us to be okay." The comments flooded with hearts. Then someone replied with the video of me asking the Shunan man to state his legal basis outside the exam center. He deleted his company badge from his profile 10 minutes later. I did not sleep much, but I did not spiral. That was new. In my first life, I had spent the night after the missed exam refreshing hate comments until my hands shook. Today, my mother took my phone at midnight and placed warm milk beside my bed. "You can fight after the exam," she said. "Tomorrow you write." My father stood in the doorway holding a printed map of every route to the exam center. He had highlighted 3 options, drawn walking paths and marked police booths. "I'll take you by metro," he said. "We leave at 6. His seriousness nearly broke me. I wanted to tell him everything. The stroke, the hospital smell, the way his right hand stopped moving, the debt notices, the winter he apologized for being useless while I washed his hair. Instead, I nodded. "Okay." He looked at me for a long moment. "Xiao, did someone set you up?" The room went still. My mother turned from the desk. I could have protected them with vagueness. But protection built on ignorance had failed us once. "Yes," I said. My father's jaw tightened. "Then we don't panic. We collect proof." My mother sat beside me. "And you don't carry it alone." In my first life, I had thought revenge meant becoming hard enough to need nobody. Sitting between them, alive and believed, I understood revenge could also mean letting love stand witness before the world rewrote you. The next morning tried to repeat the trap in miniature. At 6:12, Teacher Peng sent a class notice. All remaining candidates must assemble at school and take unified transport. Independent or rival will be recorded. I laughed so loudly my father dropped his keys. By 6:14, Director Huang sent a revised notice. Due to yesterday's traffic incident, students may arrive independently with parent confirmation. The correction had come because parents were awake now. Suspicion is hard to put back to sleep. My father and I took the metro. At Wudong Academy Station, 2 classmates joined us without meeting my eyes. One was Lu Han, who had cried on the bus. The other was Zhao Ming, the boy who had called me crazy. He looked like he had aged 3 years overnight. Lin Xiao, he said, voice rough. Yesterday I waited. Apologies matter, but forced ones are just weather. He swallowed. You told us. I didn't listen. My father pretended to study the station map, giving us privacy. I said, you were scared. Zhao Ming shook his head.
No.
I was stupid. There's a difference. That answer surprised me enough that I softened. Then, be smarter today. He nodded hard. Lu Han whispered, Teacher Peng told us if we left, our exams would be invalid. Did anyone record it? I asked. She looked down. I did.
Audio.
My brother told me to.
Good.
The world was changing by inches. Science Comprehensive went smoothly until the last 30 minutes, when the classroom door opened and 2 district officials entered with the chief invigilator. They did not interrupt the exam, but their presence moved through the room like thunder behind mountains. Su Yanyan saw them. So did I. Her hand tightened around her pen. After the exam, candidates from our school were directed to separate interview rooms. Not disciplinary rooms. Official inquiry rooms. That distinction mattered. My parents waited outside. I sat before 2 exam committee staff, a district education officer, and a police liaison whose notebook made Teacher Peng's threats look childish. Candidate Lin Xiao, the officer said, please describe events from boarding the bus to your arrival yesterday. I did. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Time, place, words, actions. At 6:50 departure. At approximately 7:12 driver mentioned shortcut. At 7:18 bus stopped at Qingshui Road. At 7:19 I got off. Teacher Peng attempted to stop me and retain the class folder. At 7:22 I sent alternate route message. At 8:07 Shunan staff member approached me. At 8:22 Su Yanyan entered room 304 after gate closure with special escort. When asked how I knew Central Avenue would close before public alerts, I said I had checked multiple route options because exam day traffic is unpredictable. It was not the whole truth, but it was true enough. Reincarnation is difficult to notarize. They played my phone recording. My own voice sounded strange, calm, young, edged with something no teenager should have. Teacher Peng's voice ordered me to sit down. My voice said the bus would not reach the exam center if it turned right after Central Library. Su Yanyan's voice urged everyone not to be scared. The door hissed. Then, faint but clear, the driver said, we're already told to go this way. The officer paused the audio. Already told by whom? I said, the driver can answer that. They showed me a still image from exam center CCTV, the Shunan man approaching me under the tree. Do you recognize him? He was also near the bus yesterday morning before departure, I said. That part came from my previous life, but I had seen him in this life too, briefly, standing by the school gate while the driver smoked. Can you identify him if shown clearer images? Yes. Then they showed me another still, Su Yanyan arriving at the side gate on an electric bike driven by the same man. Her head was lowered, but her bracelet, a silver charm shaped like a swan, caught the camera. The officer tapped the photo. She stated she was evacuated due to medical distress. Did you observe distress before you left the bus? I thought of Chen Rui gasping on the station stairs, real fear in her lungs.
No.
She was calm enough to discourage others from leaving. By afternoon, the investigation widened. The bus GPS confirmed the driver had deviated from the approved route before any public traffic alert. The driver claimed Teacher Peng had instructed him. Teacher Peng claimed the driver had received school logistics guidance from Shunan. Shunan claimed a junior dispatcher had misunderstood road conditions. The junior dispatcher turned out to be Su Yanyan's uncle. Su Yanyan claimed she had been frightened and accepted help without understanding. Her mother claimed she contacted a family employee only after the gridlock began. Then the exam center call log showed the vice examiner had been informed at 7:31 that one candidate from number 7 high may need special entrance due to transport delay, Before the bus fully stopped, before most students realized the severity, before Su Yanyan supposedly developed distress. Timelines are merciless. People can cry around them, but numbers do not blush. Still, power resisted. The district did not immediately announce anything. The school told students not to discuss unverified matters. Teacher Peng took sick leave. Su Yanyan continued sitting exams under supervision, face pale, reputation wounded but not dead. Online, her supporters insisted she was being scapegoated because she was excellent. Mine insisted I was a hero. Both words made me uncomfortable. I had not saved everyone. I had saved myself, Chenrue, Tang Wei, and whoever chose to listen the next morning. Hero was too clean for the mess in my chest. The final exam day arrived under a hard blue sky.
No rain.
No bus. Parents escorted students in clumps, each family suddenly distrustful of any unified arrangement. Outside Wudong Academy, Xiaoming handed me a bottle of water, without looking at me. For yesterday, he muttered. Not poisoned, Tang Wei said solemnly, inspecting it. Chun Rui laughed for the first time in 2 days. The sound felt like a small flag raised after battle. Su Yanyan arrived with her mother and 2 lawyers. She wore no makeup, but her skin looked too perfect for someone supposedly destroyed by stress. Cameras from local media waited outside the police line. Her mother stopped near me and smiled. Whatever happens, remember, top universities value stable character. I smiled back. Then your daughter should start practicing. The lawyer beside her frowned. Su Yanyan looked at me, and for the first time since Rebirth, her mask slipped in daylight. Hatred, raw and almost childish, flashed across her face. You think you won because people are noisy right now, she whispered. After scores come out, they'll remember who is useful. Maybe, I said. But this time, they'll remember who got off the bus. She stepped closer. You were nobody before me. That sentence opened a hidden drawer in my memory. All the times she had helped me by introducing me as her hardworking friend, lending me dresses that made me look poor, praising my notes while copying them, inviting me to study groups where she harvested my methods and called them hers. I had mistaken being displayed for being included. I looked at her and said, No, I was useful before you. That's why you came near me. The final paper was politics and history, which felt like a joke written by a cruel but literate god. Questions about institutions, civic responsibility, public trust, and the rule of law spread across the pages while outside. Adults tested how much law they could bend before it snapped. I wrote steadily. For the essay, I argued that public systems fail not only when rules are absent, but when rules exist and people entrusted with them choose private interest over collective fairness. My hand did not shake. When the final bell rang, the room exhaled 3 years of pressure. Some students cried. Some laughed. Tang Wei came out and declared he never wanted to see another standardized answer sheet unless it was being burned ceremonially. Chun Rui said she thought she did well. Xiaoming stood near the gate, watching the bus students who had missed the first paper gather with parents and officials. What happens to them? He asked. I don't know, I said. That was honest. Rebirth had given me memory, not control over every consequence. He nodded, eyes red. I keep thinking if I had opened the emergency door earlier. Tang Wei clapped him on the shoulder. Think after we sleep. But Xiaoming kept looking at me. I blamed you before anything happened. I'm sorry. This time, the apology landed. Not enough to erase, but enough to mark a turn. Don't apologize to me only, I said. Tell the investigators what Teacher Peng said. Tell them what Su Yanyan said. Tell them before your memory gets edited by fear. He nodded. I already did. The week after exams became stranger than exams themselves. Without school schedules, the days stretched wide, but every phone buzz pulled us back into the bus. The district announced a formal investigation into route manipulation, unauthorized candidate transfer, and possible exam fairness violations. The driver was detained for questioning after bank records showed a cash deposit made the day before the exam. Teacher Peng's sick leave became suspension. Director Huang deleted 3 posts praising school discipline. Shunin Transport's office was photographed with inspection notices taped to the glass. Su Yanyan disappeared from social media. Rumors multiplied. She had been disqualified. She had not been disqualified. Her family had fled. Her father was negotiating. Her mother had threatened the school. The vice examiner was a cousin, no, an old classmate, no, bribed. I trusted none of it until documents appeared. My father said, "Noise is not proof." He had become addicted to saying that while sorting screenshots into folders named by date. My mother brewed chrysanthemum tea and watched him with amusement. "You missed your calling as a detective." He replied, "My calling is preventing my daughter from being eaten by wolves." I pretended to groan, but inside, something tender hurt. In my first life, the wolves had eaten at our table while we apologized for bleeding on the floor. In this one, my father labeled evidence PDFs until midnight. One afternoon, Chinrue came to my house with a USB drive hidden inside a pack of mint candy. "My dad got this from a friend," she said. "It's bus depot footage from the morning." We played it on my father's old laptop. The video was grainy, timestamped 6:21 a.m. The Shunin man stood beside the driver near the bus door. Teacher Peng approached with a folder. Su Yanyan's uncle, identified by Chenrue's father from transport circles, arrived carrying 2 paper cups.
No audio.
But the gestures were clear enough to raise questions. The uncle pointed at a printed map, drew a route with his finger, and tapped the driver's chest twice. Teacher Peng looked around before slipping a folded note into her own folder. Then Su Yanyan appeared at the edge of the frame, not in school uniform yet but wearing a pale jacket, speaking to the Shunin man. He nodded. She handed him something small. A card? A note? The footage would not convict alone, but it destroyed the claim that she knew nothing. My father copied the file twice, uploaded one to cloud storage, and gave one to Chinrue to deliver through her father's channel. "No posting online," he warned. "Give it to investigators first. Public anger can ruin chain of custody." Tang Wei, when told later, said, "Uncle Lin is scarier than the police." He was right. The official breakthrough came from the least dramatic source, a parking receipt. On the morning of the exam, the electric bike that carried Su Yanyan to the side gate had been parked in a private lot near Central Library at 6:47 a.m. before our bus left school. The Shunin man had paid through an app linked to his phone. That meant the escape vehicle was positioned in advance. Once that detail leaked, the narrative collapsed. Su Yanyan's medical evacuation became prearranged transfer. Her mother's after the Gridlock call became false. Teacher Peng's unforeseen emergency became complicity or negligence, so severe no statement could perfume it. The district issued an interim notice. Affected candidates from our school who missed the first paper would receive a special review channel pending investigation into deliberate obstruction. Staff involved were removed from exam-related duties. One candidate's qualification was under separate review for improper assistance. They did not name Su Yanyan, but everyone did. The comments turned on her with the same hunger once aimed at me in my first life. I thought I would enjoy it more. Instead, watching strangers tear apart her face, her clothes, her childhood photos, I felt a sourness under the satisfaction. Not sympathy. Never that clean. More like recognition of the machine. Public opinion did not love truth, it loved reversal. Yesterday's angel became today's demon because the crowd enjoyed both costumes. I reminded myself not to build a home inside applause. It could evict me by morning. Su Yanyan came to see me 3 days before scores were released. She did not come alone. Her mother waited in a black car downstairs, engine running, while Su Yanyan stood at our apartment door wearing a white blouse and no jewelry. My father wanted to close the door in her face. My mother said, "Let her speak where we can record." We sat at the dining table. The recorder lay openly between us. Su Yanyan looked at it and smiled faintly. "Still scared. Still careful," I said. She folded her hands. For a moment, she looked less like a villain and more like a very tired girl who had spent too long standing under lights. "My qualification may be cancelled," she said. "My mother says we can still fight it, but the school won't protect us anymore."
No apology. Not yet.
Su Yanyan did not spend words where they could not purchase something. "Why are you here?"
I asked.
She looked at my parents, then back at me. Withdraw your statement about the man approaching you outside the exam center. Say you were nervous and misunderstood. The rest is already bad enough. Without that, they can argue I accepted help after the delay, not before. My father's hand hit the table. You came to ask my daughter to lie? Su Yanyan flinched, but only slightly. I came to ask her not to destroy my entire life over one exam. The room went so quiet I heard the kitchen clock. My mother's face hardened. I leaned forward. One exam. My voice sounded soft, almost curious. How many lives were on that bus?
Suananes mouth tightened.
They may get review arrangements. Because we proved sabotage. Because you made it public. Because you made it necessary. Her eyes flashed. Don't act noble. You got out.
You wrote the exam.
You wanted me punished. Yes, I said. The honesty startled her. I wanted you punished. I still do. But I also warned the bus. I paid for Chen Rui's metro ticket. Tang Wei got off because he chose to. You arranged a private escape and told everyone else to stay calm. Su Yanyan's face twisted. You don't understand what it's like being expected to win every second. My mother planned everything. Teacher Peng agreed. They said the class would be delayed slightly, not miss the whole paper. They said I deserve protection because I was the school's top hope. They said the others were average anyway. There it was. Not a confession wrapped neatly enough for court, but truth bleeding through pride. My father's eyes moved to the recorder. Su Yanyan noticed and stopped. Too late. She stood abruptly. Forget it. For the first time, her voice broke without performance. You always looked at me like I was stealing from you. But people gave things to me. That isn't theft. I stood too. When people gave you what belonged to everyone and you took it, that was theft. She stared at me for a long time. Then she laughed once, sharp and empty. In another life, maybe we could have been friends. The words struck too close. In another life, I had believed we were. No, I said. In another life, I didn't know better. She left without looking back. The black car swallowed her downstairs. The recording changed everything, though not in the dramatic way stories prefer. It did not instantly send Su Yanyan to prison. It did not make officials kneel. It became one more piece in a file already thick with GPS logs, CCTV stills, call records, route documents, and witness statements. But it removed the last soft shield around her. Ignorance. She knew enough. She participated enough. She benefited deliberately. Teacher Peng, under pressure, finally admitted she had been told by Director Huang that Su Yanyan's family arranged route support and that if traffic became difficult, priority candidate handling would occur. She claimed she believed the whole class would still arrive on time. The driver admitted taking money to follow the alternate route. Su Yanyan's uncle admitted positioning the electric bike but claimed it was for emergency use for any student, a lie so insulting even the official notice later called it inconsistent with evidence. Director Huang resigned for health reasons before disciplinary action concluded. Teacher Peng lost her teaching post. Shunan Transport's exam service contracts were suspended. The vice examiner was removed from duty pending review. Su Yanyan's first paper score was invalidated due to improper entrance and suspected cheating notes on her wrist, confirmed by an invigilator who had reported it quietly after my mention triggered review. Her entire exam qualification entered appeal hell. She did not become the miracle top score. She became a cautionary rumor adults lowered their voices to discuss. Scores came out at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. My father had refreshed the website since 9:42 despite claiming he was calm. My mother stood behind him with one hand over her mouth. I sat at the table pretending my pulse was not trying to break furniture. When the page loaded, my father went still.
Chow, he said.
Just my name. My mother leaned closer. I could not move. Read it, I whispered.
He did.
Language, 138. Math, 146. Science Comprehensive, 287. Politics History, 281. Total, 852.
Provincial rank, 31.
For a second, the apartment vanished. I was back on the bus in my first life, watching the exam center gates close through a rain-streaked windshield, feeling my future leave without me. Then I was here, in sunlight, with my mother crying into both hands and my father laughing like someone had punched joy out of his chest. I did not scream. I did not jump. I put my head down on the table and sobbed, so hard my ribs hurt. Not because a score defined me, because I had crossed the morning that killed me and arrived on the other side with my name intact. My mother hugged my shoulders. My father kept saying, "You did it. You did it." In my first life, my score report had been blank for the missed paper and red with administrative notes. In this life, every number looked like a door. The affected students' results were handled through a special provincial process after the investigation confirmed deliberate obstruction. It was imperfect, controversial, and messy. Some received adjusted opportunities through a supplemental exam. Some chose to repeat the year with compensation. Parents argued. Lawyers argued. Commentators argued louder. Not all wounds closed because truth arrived. That was another lesson Rebirth taught me. Exposure is not resurrection. Luhan took the supplemental route and later sent me a message saying she had passed the threshold for her second-choice university. Xiaoming repeated the year voluntarily and became oddly serious, deleting his old mocking posts and studying at the library until security guards knew his name. Tang Wei's score was good enough for a sports science program, which he claimed was fate-rewarding emergency door bravery. Chen Rui did beautifully, entering clinical medicine in a neighboring province. She sent me a photo of her acceptance letter with the caption, "Metro Line 2 saved my life." I replied, "Your own legs did too." As for Su Yanyan, her family appealed for months. Her mother appeared once on a local program insisting her daughter had been emotionally manipulated by competitive pressure. The public did not forgive her, but public anger moved on, as it always does. The last I heard, Su Yanyan enrolled in a private overseas foundation program under a different English name. I did not chase her ending. Some people want revenge to be a lifelong rope. I wanted scissors. On the day I received my admission package from Qingbei Medical College, I took the bus alone to Qingshui Road Station. Not because I needed to, because some places remain haunted until you enter them by choice. The station looked ordinary. Commuters, soy milk steam, advertisements peeling at the corners, rain stains dried into the pavement. The digital sign blinked 7:18 a.m. again, though weeks had passed and the hour meant nothing to anyone else. I stood where I had stepped off the exam bus and imagined the other version of me still trapped behind glass, folder clutched to her chest, waiting for an adult to unlock permission. I wished I could reach through time and take her hand. I wished I could tell her obedience is not virtue when it is demanded by people walking you toward a cliff. I wished I could tell her that one stop can be enough, not to save everyone, not to fix every injustice, not to make the world fair, but to change the direction of your own feet before the road disappears. A bus pulled up. Not an exam bus. Just Route 106, crowded and late. The doors opened. For a second, the hiss sounded like that morning. My body tensed. Then I exhaled and did not board. Instead, I walked to Central Library. The pedestrian bridge where I had died in my first life crossed above the intersection, its metal railings newly painted green. Cars flowed beneath in clean lanes, no gridlock, no horns, no rain. On the digital billboard, Su Yanyan's old integrity poster was gone. In its place was an advertisement for a blood donation drive. Give once, save more than you know. I leaned against the railing and laughed, not because it was funny, but because the universe had a tasteless sense of timing. My phone buzzed. A message from Chen Rui. Orientation date confirmed. Are you nervous? I typed back. Always. Going anyway. Then another message arrived from an unknown number. For a moment, my skin prickled. I opened it. No threat.
No apology.
Just a photo of the class attendance sheet from exam morning, the original one, with my name marked left without authorization in Teacher Peng's handwriting. Under it, someone had written in red pen, correction, arrived on time. No sender name. Maybe an investigator. Maybe a staff member with a conscience. Maybe Tang Wei playing detective. I saved it. People later asked me why I got off one stop early. Some wanted a heroic answer, something about courage or instinct. Some wanted a strategic answer, something about traffic data and route planning. A few wanted to know whether I hated my classmates for staying. I always answered differently depending on who was asking, but the truest answer remained private. I got off because I had already lived the cost of staying. I had seen how quickly a bus full of frightened people could become a courtroom, how easily a teacher could become a jailer, how softly a smiling girl could hold a knife, how institutions could fold a child's future into a statement and call it procedure. I got off because my mother's knees had already bled once in another life. I got off because my father's hand had already gone still. I got off because the exam center gates had already closed in my face, and death had given me one absurd, impossible mercy. A station sign, a hissing door, and 10 seconds to choose. So I chose. Years later, when I became a doctor in the emergency department, people assumed my calm came from training. They saw me handle alarms, blood, crying families, monitors screaming numbers into fluorescent nights, and they said Dr. Lin had steady hands. They did not know my steadiness began on a wet curb at Qingshui Road, holding a torn school bag while an exam bus drove away without me. They did not know that whenever a junior nurse hesitated because a senior doctor sounded too certain, I told her, "Check the route yourself." They did not know that when frightened interns asked whether one small decision could matter inside a system too large to move, I thought of Chen Rui on the metro stairs, Tang Wei opening the emergency door, Xiaoming learning the difference between fear and stupidity, my father labeling files, my mother saying I did not have to carry it alone. I thought of Su Yanyan too, not with forgiveness, but with clarity. She taught me that talent without conscience becomes appetite. Authority without accountability becomes a closed bus door. And survival without truth becomes another kind of gridlock. On the anniversary of that exam morning, I visited my parents. My father had framed my admission letter, my medical license, and, embarrassingly, a newspaper clipping about the investigation. My mother cooked too much food and pretended it was normal for 3 people to eat enough for 9. After dinner, my father handed me a small box. Inside was my old torn school bag zipper, the one ripped when the bus door tried to close on me. He had kept it. Why? I asked, half laughing, half horrified. He shrugged. Proof. My mother rolled her eyes. Your father keeps everything if it proves he was worried. I held the little strip of metal in my palm. It was ugly, bent, ordinary. A broken thing from the morning. Everything changed. I realized then that my father had understood more than I ever told him. Not reincarnation. Not the literal past life.
But the weight.
The sense that his daughter had returned from somewhere far away and dangerous, carrying smoke in her hair. He tapped the zipper gently. This is where the door closed, he said. And where you didn't let it. I closed my fingers around it and felt, finally, not the old bus, not the gridlock, not Su Yanyan's smile, but the curb under my shoes and the first clean breath after choosing myself. I still dream of the bus sometimes. In the dream, I am back in seat 17A. Teacher Peng orders me to sit. Su Yanyan smiles by the window. My classmates whisper. The doors hiss. For years, the dream ended with me trapped behind glass, pounding until my hands bruised while the city froze around us. Now the dream has changed.
I stand.
I lift the folder. I tell everyone the route is wrong. Some laugh. Some follow.
Some stay.
I step down. The rain touches my face. The bus pulls away. But instead of watching it vanish with dread, I turn toward the metro entrance, where the lights are bright and the stairs go down into motion. Behind me, horns begin to wail from Central Avenue. Ahead of me, a train arrives exactly when it should. I wake before boarding, heart steady, knowing the ending without needing to see it again. Because the truth is, Rebirth did not make me fearless. It made me unwilling to confuse fear with instruction. It did not make me cruel, though I learned to let consequences find the people who had earned them. It did not make the world fair, because no second life can repair every broken system in one morning. It gave me something smaller and sharper, the memory of the wrong road, and the courage to leave before politeness turned into a cage. That was enough. One stop early was enough. One recorded warning was enough. One girl stepping onto a wet curb was enough to crack open a lie built by adults, money, reputation, and a smiling classmate who thought everyone else's future was traffic she could route around. The bus still drove into Gridlock. The city still swallowed it. But this time, I was not inside. This time, when the gates opened, I walked through them with my own ticket in my hand. And this time, when someone tried to write "left without authorization" beside my name, the world had to correct the record.